In the history of boxing, there are rivalries built on fame, skill, and championship belts, but very few rivalries are built purely on heart, and that is what makes the Arturo Gatti versus Micky Ward trilogy so unforgettable, because from the very first bell of their first fight in 2002 until the final round of their third fight in 2003, these two men showed the boxing world something beyond technique or titles. They showed raw courage, respect, and an unwillingness to quit, and that is why their trilogy is often called the definition of heart. And to truly understand why fans still talk about these fights decades later, we have to revisit the context. Arturo Gatti was already known as a blood and guts warrior, a fighter whose bouts often turned into wars because he refused to back down no matter how much punishment he took, while Micky Ward was a tough blue-collar fighter from Lowell, Massachusetts, who never reached world champion status but was respected for his relentless body attack, his toughness, and his willingness to fight anyone. So, when these two men were matched up in 2002, not many expected the rivalry that would follow. But from the opening round of their first fight, it became clear this was something special. The action was nonstop, both men trading punches, neither willing to step back, and as the rounds went on, the punishment grew heavier. Gatti landing combinations and Ward responding with his trademark left hook to the body. And then came round 9, a round that is now etched into boxing history as one of the greatest rounds ever fought. Ward hurt Gatti with brutal body shots. Gatti reeled back and somehow found the strength to fire back, both men throwing everything they had as the crowd roared and commentators could barely contain themselves. It was not about who was the better boxer. It was about who had the bigger heart, and when the final bell rang, Ward won a majority decision. But in truth, both fighters won something bigger: the love and respect of the fans, and the demand for a rematch was immediate. So just 5 months later, in November 2002, they fought again. This time, Gatti came in more prepared, more tactical, and though the war continued with both men absorbing huge shots, Gatti's sharper boxing carried the night, earning him a unanimous decision and setting the stage for an inevitable rubber match. Because by this point, Gatti versus Ward had become more than fights. They were events, battles where fans knew they would see something unforgettable. And in June 2003, the trilogy came to its conclusion, once again delivering drama, intensity, and heart. The fight was grueling. Gatti broke his hand early but continued to throw punches. Ward pressed forward as always with relentless pressure, and round after round the two men punished each other. But Gatti's skill and determination proved too much, and he won the trilogy 2-1. Yet what truly defined this rivalry was not the scorecards, but the respect between the fighters. Because after beating each other nearly senseless across 30 rounds, they embraced like brothers, knowing they had given boxing fans something rare, something pure. And in the years that followed, their bond only grew stronger, with Ward even training Gatti for later fights. And when Arturo Gatti tragically passed away in 2009, Micky Ward was among those who remembered not just the warrior, but the friend. And so today, when boxing fans talk about heart, about what it means to give everything inside the ring, they talk about Gatti versus Ward, because it was not about fame or belts. It was about pride, resilience, and respect. And that is why this trilogy stands as one of the greatest in boxing history, a timeless reminder that sometimes the most unforgettable fights are not about perfection, but about courage. And Gatti versus Ward gave us courage in its purest form.